You learn more from your defeats than you do from your wins. And I have there's something I always tell my fighters. Sometimes we win, sometimes we learn. I don't believe in taking a loss. I believe in learning. I believe in getting better. As a fighter, obviously, with the fighters themselves, and as a coach myself. I learn from every fight, I try to learn from every situation. And when you take an L, it motivates me to work even harder because I hate losing.
All right, awesome. So, Coach, we're live again. I'm super happy to have you. It was actually on I've tried to get you before, but it was recently recommended to me from Rudy Hernandez. He's like, if you haven't had
Oh, okay.
Manny, yeah, he's like, if you haven't had Manny, he's like, you have to have him. He's like, the respect I have for him as a trainer, I think, uh, is as high as anybody, and I take his word, as it's really like the gospel. So,
All right,
I'm
on. The respect for Rudy is mutual.
awesome. He's the man. He keeps it 100 all the time.
Yeah,
So it means a lot to me to have you, and I appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, so first and foremost, thanks for taking the time to meet with me. I really do appreciate it.
right on. Appreciate you. I appreciate you having on my show, having me on your show.
Yeah, for sure. So first
Mhm.
things first, we were kind of talking about this. I don't even know if you remembered it, but it was the funniest thing during the Boachuk fight on the Crawford Canelo undercard. We were watching
Mhm.
it. I love watching the corner. To me, obviously, it's the most
Mhm.
interesting thing. And you're giving these great instructions. Then right before the round starts, the mouth guard goes flying. You go, oh shit!
Mhm.
Everybody in the room that I was with, they were just dying.
Mhm.
Do
Mhm.
you think that'll be like the one you got caught on TV for, or do you think there was a worse one or
I
a
think
tougher
there's
one?
I think there's been probably worse or other situations similar to that where you're in the heat of the moment, and you're being yourself. Really, you're not hiding anything. It's just that's what happens when you're in a corner, and especially when you're in a tough fight like that. I've had situations where I've gone off on my guys and my coaches in the corner, and it's been shown on TV. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, I catch myself, going off on them for coaching. Really, not just the fighter, but the assistant coaches as well. And I always tell them, don't take it personal. We have a job to do, and our responsibility is a fighter. So I want, you always want everybody to be on their A game, and sometimes things happen, and you gotta call them out on it. But it just so happens that when there's times that when you do call them out, you're on TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
It's funny. I've talked to other coaches who have had success, but they told me like when I won't name names, but when they first started, they were very self-conscious of the fact that there's a camera in your face. They
Hmm.
were so self-conscious of being analyzed for the
Hmm.
instructions
Hmm.
that they would give a fighter. Was it ever like that for you, or did you? I mean, you're always just in the zone.
You're always in a zone, really. I mean, you shouldn't care too much about who's watching or what cameras you have on you. You just have to be yourself. You have to be true to yourself. You have to be real, and not hide anything or not sugarcoat anything or try to be someone you're not. Really.
It's not hard at all, though. Like you're like you're on one of the
Mm,
biggest
uh,
stages. You don't ever think about it. It's just you're able to stay in that
yeah, you
true to
gotta
yourself mode.
stay in the zone. Every coach is different. I'm not the type of coach that curses a lot, or goes off on a fighter, or on in the gym, or I'm just a pretty easygoing guy, and I think it's the best way to get across to the fighter. If you start hollering and screaming and just doing all that extra stuff, I mean, it's just hard to get across to the fighter. So you try to try to be direct and go straight to the point, and not overwhelm the fighter with information. I believe that's important as well.
That's one of the most common things I've heard is you stay calm. The screaming stuff is usually it's not going to work because they're already. I mean, they're already operating at a really
Hmm.
controlled amount of stress. They're in a fight. It's a
Right.
huge fight that they've trained for a while, so their head's there. You know, it's
Hmm.
like but I've heard that from many people, and I've heard like keep it simple. Don't give them
Correct.
more than two very simple steps that they can
Hmm.
utilize.
Absolutely. I believe that's very important. And because the fighter feeds off of you, the fighter, the entire team, you're the head coach, and your corner, the fighter himself, they're feeding off of you, really. They feed off your energy, and not just in the corner, but in the locker room or in the week of the fight, per se. You got the press conference, you got the weigh-in, you have the fight itself. You're in the locker room prior to walking out on the big stage, and you just have to stay calm and collected, and keep it positive. Every fighter is different, of course. So sometimes we have to also feed off of the fighter and what the fighter likes. Some fighters like the peace and quiet in the locker room, and just to stay calm and collective, and the calm before the storm, like they say, right? And then there's fighters that like the music, they like to sing, and they like to stay, they like the noise. They like to have people in the locker room. I don't really like to have a whole lot of people in the locker room. It's just keep it simple, just the corner, and then maybe one or two extra people that are part of the team, and but that's about it. Just try to keep it simple, try to keep it tight.
Yeah, I think that's
Hmm.
crazy too to have a lot of different people in the locker room who aren't part of the task. It's such a huge task that they're preparing for. I could never. I mean, maybe everyone's different. I in a million years could never imagine preparing for such a big task and not just being with the immediate people to focus on that task. Because anything else to me sounds like a distraction.
Absolutely. It is to me it is also a distraction. Like I said, every fighter is different, but I just try to keep it simple, and I try to let the fighter know, hey, listen, keep your circle small, keep it tight. Sometimes you'll have the mom, or the parents come and walk in, the girlfriend, and walk into the locker room to give them their love and their the blessing. But that's as far as it goes, and then after that we got to get back to work. It's work time. And then there's situations where you're sharing the locker room with more than one fighter, so it can get tricky there. You can get two, three, four, six fighters in one locker room. Sometimes you don't always get your own locker room. And so you have to be dealing with different personalities. Be dealing with different people, and you just have to learn to be tolerant and work with one another. That also happens from time to time. So just got to learn to deal with it.
I had a wild one that reminded me of something because I was thinking about that the whole time you were saying it, and it's like sometimes you do get in there, and some of these guys can have big personalities, or their teams have big personalities. I used to manage a fighter, and he's a very calm, peaceful guy. Before the fight, he loved quiet. He didn't want to talk to anybody unless it needed to be said.
Hmm.
And he would usually take, if he's the main event, we have an idea of how long it'll be. He'll take like a nap about like 2 hours before the fight. And, like he just, you have to stay in the locker room with the commission. What happened was 2 fights, 3 fights before his fight, when I knew he was going to be like waking up and
Hmm.
stretching out and getting ready, a heavyweight got disqualified because he kept hitting a guy after the bell. And so finally the ref disqualifies him, and this guy charges after the ref and tries to like attack him, and people are jumping on him and trying to stop him, and he lost his he lost it. He was out of control. And I also knew he was in the locker room with my fighter, and all I could think was like, oh no, like this is gonna kill the energy.
Hmm.
So I remember
Absolutely.
I called his coach and I was like, hey man, there's like that little closet in the back, right? He goes, yeah. And I go, is he in there right now? He goes, yeah. I'm like, just close the door. He goes, why? I'm like, this guy just is losing his shit. Like he's going crazy. Like
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
gonna throw him off completely.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's true. You gotta. I mean, especially if a guy loses, you don't know how he's gonna act. Like you gotta kind
Hmm.
of be ready for anything in those
Hmm.
shared locker rooms.
Absolutely. No, no, it gets a little out of hand from time to time, but like I said, you have to learn to be tolerant and just learn to deal with the situation. I mean, different personalities, different people, and just like I said, sometimes it's great when you have your own locker room, but sometimes you don't. So, like I
100%.
said, sometimes you have to share that locker room with more than one person, several fighters sometimes. So can you imagine, how hectic it can get? But it is what it is, which is something that you have to learn to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. You had mentioned like not you don't want to bring too many people around, specifically outsiders, if they don't pertain to the fight. I totally agree. They shouldn't. They just shouldn't be there. I don't see the purpose. But in some like these are all things that you've already sort of said. But obviously with Andy Ruiz, like that first win was so incredible. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I can remember it vividly because it was so
Mm-hmm.
spectacular and thrilling. It was unfortunate how it happened afterwards, and
Mm-hmm.
it seems like he made some mistakes, but fortunately it seems like he learned from them, and now you two are coming
Mm-hmm.
back together. There are like lessons that you learned from that experience that you would do differently this time around.
Always, you always learn. You never stop learning in this game. Absolutely. I wish I could go back in time and make some changes, but then that's how you learn. I have a saying that you learn more from your defeats than you do from your wins. And I have there's something I always tell my fighters. Sometimes we win, sometimes we learn. And the same thing, yeah, I don't believe in taking a loss. I believe in learning, right? I believe in getting better as a fighter, obviously, with the fighters themselves, and as a coach myself. I learn from every fight, I try to learn from every situation. And when you take an L, it motivates me to work even harder because I hate losing. So
Yeah,
you want to work, you want to put in that extra work. Come Monday, I mean, you have a fight on Saturday, Friday, Saturday. Come Monday, I want to be able to come back to the gym and make everybody pay for that loss. you
yeah.
know and that's the way it should be. You have to I have a winning mentality. And same thing with Andy. When we took the we obviously it was great when we won, but when we took the loss, I mean, I learned a great deal from that defeat. And makes you want to be a better coach, obviously, and make some changes for the better. And I think,
Absolutely.
and I believe I have. So it doesn't stop. It just keeps on going. you know
Well,
you
I
have an
think
opportunity to start tomorrow morning. We get a fresh start, and you get to do things differently every day and be a better person, a better coach.
I think it speaks a lot to you too, the fact that you guys are back together. That doesn't
Mm,
happen very often,
yeah.
right? For a guy to come back. And I think the one thing that's pretty cool about it is that you both had that shared experience from before. You both learned the lesson together
Hmm.
and now get to do it again, and you can
Hmm.
work together to correct it, right? Versus like, look, you've tried it a different way, you've gone a different path. Now let's see how we can do this now. I'm sure it'd be a lot easier to set some expectations and ground rules now for both of you. You know what I mean? Like to set it
Hmm.
up for success.
No, absolutely. I mean, he called me. He called me, Andy, that is, and asked me, asked for a meeting, for us to talk, to speak, and to give each other's point of views about the past and about what happened in the fight, when we won, when we lost, and so forth and so on. So there could be some clarity and make sure that, hey, listen, whatever happened or whatever was said, let's just get that out of the way now and let's just move forward. I think we've both grown. He's grown as obviously as a fighter and as an individual, as a human being, and he's not the same person that I dealt with or that I worked with 5 6 years ago when we fought. And what was it, 2019, when he won the title, if I'm not mistaken. It's been, we're going on 7 years from that now. And it's been a while. So if you don't learn, if you don't grow, then what's going on? You got to ask yourself, what what am I doing? you
Yeah.
know uh, So anyway, we're giving each other, and I say this, we're giving each other an opportunity to work with one another again, and make it, things, hopefully it'll be different this time. Hopefully we'll have the same success, get an opportunity to fight for a world title, and make history all over again. But this time it's got to be different on both ends. That
Hell
definitely
yeah.
has to be different.
By the way,
You know?
respect for that because I think so many times nowadays guys can't act like guys, you know what I mean? Like men being men. Just have a conversation, talk, own the stuff you did wrong, but also call someone out and take
Mm.
that criticism and move forward. It says a lot about both of you that you were able to do that instead of it's unfortunate in boxing how many breakup stories there are between trainers and I guess promoters too and stuff, but then it just turns to like it's just like destroyed. It can never be
Right.
repaired or no one tries
Hmm.
to repair it. Um, I'm hopeful. I think it's really exciting. I think anyone who's not going to fight him, how do I say it? It's to their detriment. He's a very exciting heavyweight
Hmm.
in a heavyweight division right now. That's sort of looking for excitement. I think some of the more exciting fighters are not fighting anymore. I think he has a lot of tread left on him. It's not like he's fighting a lot, so he should have some more miles left. And I think there's a lot more left to come. I'm excited to see it for sure.
Well, let's hope so, right? I mean, that's what we want. Get them ready, get them in fighting shape, and maybe look for an opponent. Look for the right opponent. There's no such thing as an easy fight. Look for the right opponent to get them back on track, and then take it from there. But it's one fight at a time.
Absolutely. Um, Obviously, I mean, this is like so cliche and redundant. The fights are won in the gym. Like everyone will say that, and for obvious reasons. All the work is done there, and then you're pretty much just
Hmm.
displaying it in the ring. And that's something
Hmm.
that you've always practiced as well. But like, how do you maintain that culture of like, hey, you're gonna have to work your ass off in the gym. This is where the fight's won. You
Hmm.
can't just show up on fight night.
Well, yeah, you just said it. I mean, you win your fights in the gym. You got to show up every day. You got to, stay motivated, of course, and it's hard. The boxing is a very difficult sport because there's no you don't have there's you don't have a schedule or a set schedule. You know what I mean? Like you do in other sports. So you got to pretty much keep yourself in the gym throughout the year, and wait for that call. You know, and even prize fighters have to wait for a call. Even prize fighters sometimes don't know when they're fighting themselves. They get tentative dates and a tentative opponent, but it's never certain. So it's always important for you to keep yourself in the gym, keep yourself ready, and so it's a lifestyle. So it's a lifestyle to be in the gym and consistently be training hard, and being disciplined and staying dedicated, and not being too far from your weight class. It's easier said than done, but it's extremely difficult, like I said, because you don't really get a whole lot of time to rest.
Yeah,
And when you get that call, it's like you got to turn it up another notch and start getting ready for that fight. Getting ready for that opponent, and just it's like I said, it's just showing up every day. Personally, for me, it's just being in the gym every day. You know, pretty much the entire year. Next week, not next week, but the following week. Next week we have a couple fights. We have a couple of girls that are fighting on the card here in Southern California. And then the week after that, Thanksgiving week,
yeah,
I won't be able to spend Thanksgiving with my family because I'll be on the road for a fight. You know what I mean? And those are the type of things that you have to deal with.
yeah,
And I just had to explain to my wife actually last night that I said, hey, next week, I'm gonna be on the road. Thanksgiving Day, as a matter of fact, Thanksgiving morning, I have to leave. I'm gonna be on the road with one of my fighters. You know, there's no way around it. I could have, I spoke to the manager, and I could have said, I could have flown into to the city where this is actually Fresno,
yeah.
California. I could have flown in. the day of the weigh-in, but I would have missed the weigh-in, and
Yeah.
then my fighter would leave on Wednesday, so I wouldn't be with him Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Me speaking to the manager, I said I can't do that. I have to be with him because I have to help him make weight. You know what I mean? And obviously, he's my fighter. So not only do I have to help him make weight, I have to be there with him the day of the weigh-in when he gets on the scale. You
Yeah.
know, it's just like having your team show up for a game and the coach isn't there because he's celebrating a holiday. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that it's tough. It's Thanksgiving, but guess what? It's the price you have to pay when you're in this business. You
Also,
know?
you're the pacemaker. The head coach is the pacemaker. Everyone's going to follow, like you said, they're going to follow your lead. If you're not
Right.
there
Right.
to set that tone and that energy, maybe, I mean, maybe there's another coach who can step up and do it. But I think the fighter notices
No,
100%.
exactly. Everybody's different, and I'm sure there are coaches out there that would probably, show up on a day, that Friday or after, or miss the weigh-in, miss being there. But I can't do that to my fighter. I can't do that to him. You know what I mean? He's gotta, we put in this we've been putting in work to prepare for this fight, and all of a sudden, if he doesn't see me there, if he doesn't see me working with him that week, helping him make the weight, being at the weigh-in and so forth, what does that say about me? So
Yeah, and I think that there could, you don't want to give a fighter any type of like a built-in disappointment that they can have before the
hmm
fight or a
oh,
reason to
absolutely,
second guess, you know.
absolutely, yeah.
No,
So
that's
that's what we signed up for, right? That's what we
100%. Now,
signed up for.
if you don't mind me asking, so I'm just saying this, I'm a married
hmm
guy, right? And my wife, it's hard for me to get stuff on the calendar, you know what I mean?
hmm
I have to assume at this point in time, it's sort of an expectation that like, hey, this could happen. You know, dates get broken, important events get missed.
hmm
Is it easier to have those conversations maybe now than it was, when you started training and having to make
oh
those
yeah,
sacrifices?
it's easier now. I mean, when you're referring to, you know with my relationship, obviously, with my wife, and having to let her know, my family, not just my wife, but my kids and so forth, my immediate family, it's something they're used to now. you know it's something that they understand now. They understand that now, and but it's what puts food on the table for me, right? So they need to understand that sometimes, I'm not gonna be around for certain holidays, or anniversaries, or and so forth and so on, birthdays, but it comes with the territory. You know what I mean? I I just This is what I do, and I'm devoted to my each and every one of my fighters. They're all important to me. I don't care if you're a 4 round fighter or a world champion. They're all important because if you ask any fighter, if you ask a 4 round fighter, a kid making his pro debut, or just maybe a kid with a handful of professional fights, what that fight means to them, that next fight means to them, and it means the world, because there's no such thing. Like I said, there's no such thing as a, a easy opponent, and there's no such thing as an easy fight. Every fight is important. That's what when you win, you take one step forward. When you lose, you take 5 steps back. So it's not boxing is like no other sport. You can. It's just like you can't afford to lose. It happens, but you just can't. So that's why you have to work as hard as you do. You have to work extremely hard because the other guy wants to win too, of course, and you respect your opponent. But that's why, because you have to love the sport and respect the sport and know that before you step into that ring, you have to be ready. You know, like I said, sometimes it happens. Sometimes we take that loss, the L, but it's They gotta be they beat you because they were better than you, and not for lack of preparation or dedication.
That's what Rudy always says. It's the exact same thing. He'll never allow his fighters to say like an excuse. It has to be you either lost because you weren't prepared, and I'm not going to allow that to happen, or you lost because the guy was better, and then that means we have to find a way to get better.
Absolutely, that's just it. That's the way you got to look at life, really. I mean, everybody wants to win. That's why you have to work as hard as you do in the gym, really. And it takes, to become a world champion. It's it's hard. It's not easy to become a prize fighter. It's difficult. It's not easy, but it can happen. It's possible. You just have to be willing to put in the time and the effort, the dedication, the drive, the sweat, blood, and tears, as they say, and give yourself an opportunity. Give yourself a legitimate opportunity to for success. And if it happens, great. But if it doesn't, at least you know you gave it your all.
That brings me back because I think your story is a really really awesome story. There were no there were really like no handouts for you on the climb up to where you are now. You did everything the hard way, one rung at a time. Um, and so if people look at it, it's cliche, but it's like this is the tip of the iceberg that people see now. But like the iceberg
Mhm.
itself is enormous in the work and
Mhm.
sacrifice and dedication.
Mhm.
You know, how did you get? I mean, maybe it sounds like a silly question, but it means a lot to me. Like, how did you get from that point of really trying to build yourself and doing it the hard way and going through a lot of hardships to getting to where you are now? What got you there?
Ooh, that's a long story, man. That's a
Tell it,
long
man.
story.
I got the
Yeah.
time.
It's well, I guess it starts from you gotta take it all the way back to when you were a kid and when I was a kid and my humble beginnings, with my father and my mom, my father, they were, obviously were immigrants. I come from Mexico. I was born in Mexico, and I came to this country when I was 6 years old, back in 1978. I'm 54 years old now, and I remember that day vividly, and everything that my parents had to go through to for us to just to get by, to be able to survive, to be able to have a roof over your head and food on the table, and that was my foundation. Watching how hard my mom and my dad worked for myself and my siblings to get by and to have a better life, really. And that right there, that was my foundation. That is when you see when I was able to see how hard my father worked and how hard my mom worked. And a lot of times they weren't around because they were both working. And it's just myself and my young sisters. I was the oldest, taking care of me, taking care of my sisters, and being able to take care of herself. So just with that alone, and being able to survive on your own, and not have anybody, look over you, because your parents weren't around, because you understood they had to work for you to for us to have a better life, really. That was it. I mean, that was it. That from the get-go, just hard work every day, showing up every day, getting up in the morning every day to go to work, to go to school. And when I started boxing, of course, as well, getting up, get up to go run in the morning, and then come home and get ready for school, and then go to school, come from school, do your homework, go to the gym. That was instilled in me at a very young age. So I learned how to go to work at a very
Yeah,
young age. Does that make sense?
absolutely.
you know Watching my parents, making sacrifices for us to have a better life, and then obviously myself, for I learned that from my parents, and not to ever give up, despite all the hardship that we went through, and difficult situations that we went through, because it was hard. It wasn't easy, or it wasn't always easy, because it did get better, of course,
Yeah.
with time. But but yeah, all of that, all of those type of situations made me the person that I am today. You know, not to give up and not to. You know, my dad was also a boxing coach. My dad coached me, and you know, a few. He had his share of world champions himself. You know, and I learned that from my dad. I learned how to be a coach from my dad, and learned everything from my pops. Learned how to box, learned how to coach, how to wrap hands, how to work cuts, everything that has to do with boxing. My dad was my teacher. So I just you know, my dad had passed away March 3rd, 2007. We're going on 19 years now, and from that day, you know, I promised myself and made a promise to my dad that I was, you know, going to be try to be be a better person. Try to be the best coach I possibly could. I don't think I'll ever be as good as him, but but I was gonna try. I was gonna. I knew from the get go that this is what God put me in this position to do exactly what I'm doing today. You know, I just believe that at a very young age because I've been coaching for a very long time. Uh, um, as I was an amateur professional fighter, but when I started coaching, I started, you know, following my dad's lead, and I knew from that moment that boxing, coaching was exactly where I was meant to be, you know. And obviously, it wasn't easy because I hit a lot of went through a lot of barriers and hit a lot of walls and at different times, obviously, where you know, I had to step away from boxing because you know, I was a carpenter at one point where I had to go to work. I had to make ends meet. So, but I never let. I'll put it to you this way: I go to work. You know, did my 9 to 5 like every normal person would or does.
Yeah.
And then when I would come home from work, I would go to the gym. You know, after my dad passed away. That's a
Yeah.
long story. I know I'm going back and
No,
forth, but
no, you're no,
uh,
you're not. You're not.
cause
It sounds like like the dedication was always sort of there, but then when your dad passed, you had more of a why, right? Like you had more of a
it's just like I had to start all over again because I didn't have my dad with me when he passed away. Does that make sense?
yeah,
I was always my dad's right hand man as an assistant. I was my dad's assistant coach. He had his share of world champions, and but I was in walking, you know, in the shadows, if you will. You know, just my dad was a coach, and I was, like I said, I was assistant coach. When he passes away, obviously my dad's gone, so it's just like you lose you I lost everything. I lost my dad. It's just like you lose everything. So I had to start all over again. But when I did, it was hard. It was hard. I went through a lot of hardship, of course, a lot of not just with my dad passing away, but other you know things. Life
yeah.
hits you, right? And but I never gave up. I never gave up. And my son has got my family. I have my son and 2 daughters. As my son got older, I started, you know, bringing him to the gym, and he became a boxer. He became a very good boxer, very good amateur,
So
very good pro. And so he's the biggest reason how I got back into boxing after my dad passed away. It was meant to be, man. It was meant to be. And anyway, I started coaching, working with different kids, and then I started building my own stable of fighters. Like I said, I would, you know, go to work every day and come home and take my son to the gym, and then from there I started building my own stable of fighters, and the rest is history, man. I've been to, you know, I was part of the Team USA at one point. I was part of the World Series of Boxing. I was um, part of the All American Heavyweights with Michael King. The you know, thankful for Michael for giving me the opportunity. Uh, just different situations, you know, and throughout my boxing career that I found myself doing, and eventually I had, you know, had my first world champion and had other world champions myself, and you know, I have my own stable now, my own gym, my own my coaches working under me, and it's great. You know, it's great. It's been
wanna
hard. It has been easy. Nothing's
I
been given
imagine
to me, but I put in the work. But I'm very grateful.
I don't want
Definitely.
to I don't want to guess here, and so I want to make sure I know for a fact or for sure who was the first world champion.
Oscar Valdez.
I was going, that. Oh my gosh, he was such a badass.
Yeah,
Was
this
the
guy
fight he fought
was.
with a broken
Yeah,
jaw and won the fight? That was crazy.
broke his jaw in the fifth round, and he fought with a broken jaw.
Those broken jaws are serious business.
Definitely dislocated the jaw. It was bad.
Oof.
Imagine having to deal with that in a corner. We talked about that was at the start of our conversation. We're talking about
Yeah.
situations in the corner. Well,
How
that
did
was one of them.
how did you
So
handle it? I mean,
that
what was the
what did I
hardest?
say?
Yeah.
What did you say? What did you say? I said on the Bohachuk fight.
You go, you try, you're giving them these great instructions. You go, all right, now get out there, and you go to get the
Yeah.
mouth guard. It falls. You go, oh shit.
Can you imagine dealing with the broken jaw?
How do you do? I mean, what do you? Is it talking him through it? I mean, is there
Uh,
anything you can do with the jaw at that
uh,
point? There's a lot of blood
no,
in his
there's
mouth, I guess.
absolutely nothing. There's you got a broken jaw. What you do is you leave the mouthpiece in his mouth. You don't mess with this jaw. You don't. Can you imagine the pain I would have caused if he would have pulled out the mouthpiece?
It can't hurt as
And
much
I
as getting
literally I
punched.
saw I'm looking at his jaw, right, and his jaw is like, like side, like
Oh
it's damaged, completely damaged. It's like sideways,
no,
and
I
you
heard.
just look at it, but you don't tell him.
No, I heard.
You don't
I'm
tell him you have a broken jaw. You know what he thought? You know what he thought he had? He
what?
thought he had a broken tooth.
He didn't know his jaw was broken.
No, no,
The announcers knew, like immediately. He couldn't.
yeah.
That's great.
That
How did he
he
not know?
said Oscar, Oscar's working with Oscar and I, he's one of those fighters that I worked with, became a world champion, left for some
Yeah.
time and then came back. So we're working together again. We just had our first fight together again a few months ago. And we're gonna get back together soon again and start preparing for the next match. So we did a lot of catching up. Yeah, when he came back, and that's one of the subjects we talked about was the jaw. Going back into that fight, he says, "I thought I lost my tooth."
It's so crazy. How do you not?
Isn't
The
that
jaw,
amazing?
the
He
jaw
says,
was a
"I
wreck.
saw I was spitting." He says, "I was spitting blood," and I figured, well, that's no big deal. I lost my tooth. No problem. That's what he said. I'll just
Fighters
keep
are
fighting.
some fighters are wild because they really don't know what's going on with them, and it's crazy. Some of them
That's the
do.
craziest. About the craziest thing I've seen. I've
Yeah,
experienced in a corner.
and he
Definitely.
finished. He closed the show and finished.
Close
I
the
remember,
show.
yeah, couldn't move his
And
mouth.
and
It
you
was
got to
crazy.
remember, who was it? Who was that opponent?
It was an English guy. I can't. He was
Yeah,
good too, and I
British.
can't
Very
remember
good.
his name.
Former world champion. Very good. I'll remember. I'm bad with names, but it'll come. But he also missed weight,
Did he?
so he was overweight by I think 4 or 5 pounds. So he's pretty much skipped the weight class. The fight was at 126, and he came in at 130, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe that might have something to do with it too. Him, you know, being overweight, because that's why people don't think it's a big deal, right? Well,
Yeah,
it's only a couple pounds. There's weight classes for a reason, right? Well, there was a
absolutely.
big deal. So he missed weight. It's only a few pounds, but it's a big deal when you're a fighter. Believe me, it's a big deal.
Do you think it's a bigger deal because the guy didn't have to do any of the suffering? Because fighters kill themselves to
Absolutely.
make. They really do. Like it's crazy what fighters go through cutting weight. I think
Uh-huh.
that's a lot of fighters I've talked to, depending on the level they're at. Cutting the
hmm
weight sometimes it feels harder than the
hmm
fight for them. It's a real struggle, especially if they're bigger. They've kind of outgrown it. Do
It's a struggle, and it becomes hard when you don't do it correctly. When you're slacking off and not taking care of yourself, and not watching your weight, and waiting till the last minute to start dropping the weight. That's when it becomes extremely difficult.
do you
And
mean
I've
like
had
you mean if they're out of shape before training camp, or if they're not
No,
cutting the
no,
weight?
no, not necessarily out of shape. They're just not. They're watching their diet.
Yeah,
They're not taking care of their weight. You can be in the gym every day. You can be putting in work, strength and conditioning, road work every day. But if you're not watching your weight, then you're not helping yourself really, because you have to educate your mouth too. If
and you
that makes sense.
That is
You know,
true.
not only do you have to have discipline with obviously putting in the work, like I said, but you have to discipline your mouth, man.
It's
Not
true.
if that makes sense.
It
What
does.
to
No,
eat and what not to eat.
I'll tell you what,
I
man.
know it's hard, right?
Well, I'm the type of guy where I work out. You know, I do a lot of cardio. I try to. I'm in shape. Like I work out really well. Still not looking like I'm that in shape because I just
Uh-huh.
love to eat. I tell my friends all the time.
There you go.
I'm like, I do all this exercise so that I can eat a Snickers bar. You know what I mean? Like, so that
Uh-huh.
I'm able to
That's
eat it
right.
and I'm not killing
That's your
myself.
excuse.
Yeah, that's the whole deal. But I get it because you could easily. I mean, you could be working out harder than anybody, but if you're eating too
Easy.
many calories and you're putting sugar in your mouth all the time, like you're gonna
Right.
put weight on. There's no way around it.
Mm-hmm. So then it
It's
becomes extremely difficult, when you once you start getting closer to the fight to lose the weight. So that's why you
absolutely.
see so many fighters, suffering, or the week of the fight, the week of the weigh-in, really, killing themselves to make the weight. It's just like they're going about it the wrong way,
Somebody,
or it's time to move, or either that, or it's time to move up in weight.
yeah,
You know?
I was talking to someone about that who was saying they were talking about it was Keyshawn Davis, and like a
Mm-hmm.
little while ago he blew the weight by like 5 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he's like I did everything I could to make this weight and I just couldn't
Mm-hmm.
do it. He's like I think I outgrew the weight class. And a former fighter who was really well established, he's like yeah, he's like that's legit. He goes every fighter thinks they can make the weight when they get the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. Their eyes light up at the opportunity to get a good fight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you give them a weight that they've made, they believe they
Mm-hmm.
can make it every time. But their
Right.
body may
Yeah.
tell them different. It
Well, I'll
happens.
give you a perfect example. Buhachuk in his last fight
Yeah,
with Brandon Adams, he couldn't make the weight anymore. He made the
yeah.
weight, but he wasn't able to recover from 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 uh, from making weight. He wasn't able to recover the night of the fight. No excuses. I mean, Brandon Adams was a better fighter, but we made the decision to move up to 160 pounds because he's having a hard time making 154 now. But unfortunately, they had to take the loss. Like you said, you learn more from your defeats. You learn more from those type of situations, and you said, well, it's too late now. I mean, we fought we've already fought. We took the loss. Now we realized that we had a meeting with the team, and we realized that it was time for him to move up in weight. So now he's gonna campaign at 160.
Was that something when he's trying to make that weight before the weigh-in? When do you start like do you notice the depletion in him trying to cut the weight, trying to
You,
sweat it
you,
out?
you know what? I'll be honest with you, and this is what I keep asking myself. This is probably, and we talked about this too as a team. I said this was probably the best camp he had ever had prior leading into a fight. We went to Big Bear, had the right sparring partners, the right situation. Big Bear, the cabin, the gym, everything, right?
Yeah.
But then the week of the fight, we noticed that that's the hardest week. The hardest week is for any fighter to make weight is the week of the fight. He was on target to making weight, but he wasn't himself. He wasn't the usual Sergey Bohachuk. And then obviously, you keep your hopes up and hope that once you make that weight, that he's able to recover in the next 24 hours prior to the fight or leading into the fight. Uh, um, but he wasn't able to. He wasn't able to perform how he would normally perform, and sometimes you have to obviously accept the fact that you lost the fight first. It's not the end of the world, you know and you talk about it, you talk about the situation, and what went wrong, what happened. And yeah, we just made the decision to move up to 160. That it was his body wasn't able to recover
Yeah.
to the fullest. He wasn't 100%. So and then, like I said, in boxing, there's no, you have to prepare. Every fight is the biggest fight of your career. Even when you're an up and coming fighter, you have to visualize. You have to think that every fight is a world title fight. Every fight is important. No such thing as an easy fight. No such thing as an easy opponent. So you have to, you know, you have to come in 100%. But obviously, with that said, going back to Bohachuk and his weight, I mean, we realized that uh, it was time to move up in weight
Yeah.
because he's just he wasn't able to perform like I said, like he normally does, and it just took a lot. Drained. He was drained. He took a
Yeah. You could
Physically, he just took a lot from him.
you could kind of see too. I think he's the type
Uh
of
huh.
fighter where you notice he has gears. The
Uh huh.
punch volume comes up and it's more
Right.
intense. It seemed. I remember watching the fight and being like, he's in first gear, right?
Uh huh.
He's fighting, he's doing it, but it's not like
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't turned up that intensity. It didn't seem like he
Yeah.
got it to that second. Like
Yeah.
what you're
Into
saying
that
makes a
second
ton of
gear. I
sense.
think I think he tried, but
Yeah.
then he tried to push it to that second gear, like you said, and then he just you know came back to first gear again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the
But he
effort was
wasn't able to
there.
get off and be himself. Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Yeah,
I tip my hat up to Brandon Adams. He's a true gentleman. He's a true gentleman of the sport and a warrior. And the better man won that night. That's just it. The better man
that's
won, and you turn a page and you move forward. You move
yeah.
on.
Listen,
That's
at the end
it.
of the day, that really is the truth. They both came in at the agreed weight, right? Brandon said, "This is the fight you want to fight at. I'll fight you at that weight."
Uh
It's not
huh.
as if he can, alter the other factors. So at that
Hmm.
weight on that day, that was his.
It was his
You give
night.
him the respect. Yeah, you got
Yeah,
it. But
that's
but
it.
also, yeah, there was certainly like there was a. You could see him trying to push it into another gear, and it just
Right,
wasn't. It
right.
wasn't getting there, and
His
that sucks.
body wasn't responding. Yeah.
That sucks when your body won't do what you want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
One of the
Mm-hmm.
hardest things ever when
Yeah. Right.
you know what you're supposed to do and you know how to do it and you've done it before. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
hardest, like you said, it's the hardest thing with boxing too, is you got to show out for one night and you got to get 8 weeks to line up with one
Right.
night
One night.
perfectly. And if it doesn't line up just right, guess what? You don't get another game next week or tomorrow.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
yeah, this is like your whole season is one fight.
One night. Uh huh. Like I said, no, absolutely right. You couldn't have said it any better.
I would say this though, I believe this because a lot of people have said before, like, oh, boxing. What sucks about it now, and I think this part did suck, was that if you lose a fight, everybody turns on you. The fans will turn
Mm-hmm.
on you. Oh, he's been exposed. Oh, it's like yeah, this one night
Right.
explains his whole entire
Yeah.
career. But that being said, I don't think it's that one loss that defines you. I think it's your
Right.
last
No,
fight.
it shouldn't. Right. It
It's your
should not
last fight.
define you. It should not. And I always say that I'm glad you touched on that.
Yeah,
You just mentioned that right now. A situation should not define who you are as an athlete. A loss should not define you. You know, and you know, uh, and people should know that. But unfortunately, like you said, sometimes when you come from like you said, people will say, well, you got exposed, or he's not what they claim for the fighter to be. You know what I mean? And it's okay. It comes with the territory. You got to learn to deal with it, and know that, hey, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn, and then sometimes when we learn and we move forward. He's back in the gym now. We have a fight date, a tentative fight date, and I'm getting him ready, and I'm now trying to keep it positive. And if you come to my gym, it's just obviously my team, myself, my coaches, and my fighters. You don't see anybody else there. You don't see the people behind the phone on Instagram or on social media criticizing you or talking about you. That's why sometimes it's funny how people talk about me. They'll say something negative about my coaching, like they
yeah,
like they've ever been in the gym and watched me coach. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
no, some everyone has an opinion. Everybody has something to say, and you just at the end of the day, it's an opinion, right? Whether it's good or bad, it's an opinion, and you just can't let that bother you. Or on the contrary, if you have, there's people that'll say something positive about you. It's their opinion, but you don't let that. You just got to know how to handle it and keep it, stay balanced. You know what I mean? Good or bad.
But nowadays too, with social media, people want to say the craziest shit. Excuse my language. They
Mm-hmm.
want to say the
No.
craziest thing that they can say, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it'll get people to be like, "Whoa, what did you say? You think that this coach is that?" People want to have like the craziest, hottest take that everybody's going to jump on. And like everyone like yeah, everyone has an opinion.
Yeah,
If
that's
you had
that's
enough
all
time
right.
to listen to all of them, it'd be you could waste
Forget
hours.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you could
I
waste
don't
hours of your
reply.
life.
You know, my like my dad used to say, man, if you have nothing positive to say, then don't say anything at all.
My mom used to say, that. Well, she still says it. Yeah,
Yeah, right on, right? If you
yeah,
have
but
nothing
then she hit.
positive to say, stay quiet. Don't say a word. You can't correct silence.
Yeah, you know that's honestly, man. That I think that's a key to. I tell this to my friends who are, when they get married. I go, you know what the trick is? It's like you don't always have to have an opinion on everything. You know what I mean? Like you don't. You could just, and that's why most of the time I've learned like life is so much easier if people say stuff, they have opinions. You know, okay, and you just move on.
Yeah,
You got
just move
life to
on.
live.
That's it. That's it. Let's just keep it positive, man.
So
It's already hard enough as it is, right? Let's just keep
yeah,
it positive.
so after a loss, obviously, like you kind of talked about the last one. But,
Uh-huh.
you know, after a loss where you thought your guy was going to win, he loses. It's kind of a heartbreaker. They're all
Yeah,
heartbreakers, you know. But what
right.
is that conversation like in the locker room, or is there an immediate conversation?
Oh, absolutely. Not really. It just depends on the moment.
Yeah,
It depends on the situation. I'll give you a perfect example. As far as Bohachuk after his fight, we had to go to the hospital because in Nevada, fighters, there's times when fighters need to get checked and they don't have the resources at the arena. So Nevada is one of those states where you have to drive to they have to drive you to the hospital to get checked. If you get, let's just say if you get cut,
yeah,
they won't stitch you up at the arena. They have to send you to the hospital to get stitched up, you know?
yeah,
Or if you have a concussion, you got to go to the or that goes for any state, really. You got to go to the hospital. So it was one of the situations where he felt that he wasn't feeling okay. He had a headache after the fight, and we were maybe it's a concussion, and we have to make sure that he's taken care of. We have to make always look out for the fighter's safety, and everybody stayed at the arena. You know, my coaches, everyone, the entire team, they all stayed to watch the Crawford and Canelo fight, and I drove to the hospital with my fighter on the ambulance, of course. But I wasn't about to leave him alone. I wasn't, especially after a loss.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I wasn't about to leave him hanging. You know, says if he goes, I'm going with him. You
So
know,
is a big part of it just like being with your fighter during that loss?
absolutely. I mean, what kind of person? Just forget about being a coach or just being or the fighter. Just what kind of person would you be if you weren't there for your fighter? What kind of human being would you be if he's got to go to the hospital and and he they look at you as a like a father figure, you know, and not just a coach, you know, in a lot of situations, depending on relationship that you have with your fighter, of course, you know, he's got to go to the hospital. He just took a loss, you know, it's a hard loss, heartbreaking loss. He's got to go to the hospital. I'm not about to leave him alone. I'm gonna get on that ambulance and go with him, even if we have to spend the night at the hospital, or as long as we have to. I got to be there for him. So to answer your question, right, about what do you say? What do you do after a fight? What was the mood like? What did you talk about? Well, guess what? We ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, yeah,
And the last thing you want to talk about when you're in a hospital is the fight, right?
yeah,
What you want to do is make sure that that he's healthy and that he's able to get up on his own 2 feet and be able to go home to his wife and kid. Who cares about the fight?
yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, who gives a shit about the fight? Nobody.
I guess it's not that
It's
urgent,
about
right?
there's things that are, you know, I mean, there are things that are more important than boxing. You know, your well being, and you have to make sure that this kid is able to go back to his wife and kid and be there for him. They need a shoulder to lean on to, right? Especially after a loss like that. Just to be there for him, talk to him, and you know, make sure that he's okay, that he's 100%, that he's able to go home with no serious injury. Thankfully, thank God, he, you know, he was cleared after a few hours in the hospital, and they made sure that He had no injuries. He was fine, no concussions, nothing. So we were able to go home. Sometimes those type of uh, uh, just being safe. I think it's very important. It's better to be safe than sorry. So even if you feel like if you feel something, it's better to go get checked and make sure that
Absolutely.
you're 100% and have no regrets after.
Yeah, headaches are scary too, and
Yeah.
there are other elements too outside of a concussion. Like there's
Mhm.
potential dehydration or something like that.
Mhm.
You got to be
That
so
too.
careful.
Yeah. Plus,
It's
it's a hard fight. I mean, Brandon, like I said, all my respects go out to Brandon because he landed some big shots on Bohachuk that could could have well been a little concerning. So we just took our necessary precautions and went to the hospital. And anyway, that's what happened after
yeah,
the fight,
right on.
right? And then a week later, we got together, we sat down, and we talked about the situation and the fight and the whole leading up to the fight, the camp. We're trying to figure out what went wrong,
Yeah,
and then we made the determination that uh, that it was time to move up to the middleweight division to 160.
but I'm telling you, I've seen so many fans and how they act, and I probably read the message boards more. I don't know why. It's always so stupid, but you read a story. Some of the stories are stupid too, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get you.
Some of
I
the boxing,
understand.
some boxing. I mean, there are really established ones that are just great writers who are just really talking boxing, and then it's some people
Mm-hmm.
are fans just talking shit.
Uh-huh.
Like their
Right,
whole story is like talking bad about another fighter because they don't like him
right,
and they like their guy but he lost or
uh-huh.
whatever it is, you know. But anywho, what I've noticed though is it really comes down to the most recent fight. If he comes back and is stellar, people will forget it. It's like Duran. Duran had no mas. That should have been
Right,
the end of any fighter's career.
correct.
Any fighter's career should have ended there, but it didn't. He
Huh?
rewrote his legacy shortly
Uh-huh.
after. So I don't
Yeah.
think that one loss is going to make or break him. I think his next
No,
fight
no,
will be the
definitely
most.
not. We just got to keep going and know. Right now is when you get to know who's really with you and who's not. You know.
That might actually, that might actually help in a lot of ways too, right?
Uh-huh.
Because if a fighter has a
Yeah,
lot of people hanging
but
on,
who cares? At the end of the day, at the end of the day, who cares?
don't you?
Because
But if you don't,
this is about him.
yeah,
This is about him, and this it's about the team. It's about his family, because that's what he fights for, really. You know, it's funny. I always kid around with Bohachuk. I always mess with him, and today was one of those days when I was hard on him, because he has to drive for an hour and a half to get to the gym on a daily basis, right?
yeah,
And so I watch him shadow box, and I'm like, hey, you got to pick it up, man. You didn't drive for 2 hours to come into the gym and work the way you're working. I mean, he's an extremely hard worker, but
yeah,
I gotta push him. I gotta find ways to press that button, and
yeah.
get him to go. And anyway, he starts at, you gotta pick it up, son. And then anyway, one thing led to another. And then I said, hey, how many kids did you say you wanted to have? Right? Because he's got one daughter. And he says, I want to have a big family, maybe three, maybe four more children. Boy, you better get your ass to work.
Hell
If you're
yeah.
thinking about having that many kids, you better put in that work, son, because you got mouths to feed. You know what I mean? So I just trying to motivate him, trying to forget about the past. The past is the past. Let's just move forward. Start all over. Let's go. Let's get ready. Because you got to fight. As a coach, you have to find ways to motivate your fighters, especially coming from a loss.
I think
Because
that's
that's all it
huge.
is. It's not, like I said. It doesn't determine your career. It should not determine your who you are as a fighter. You know, I believe a loss only makes you better,
Yeah, a hundred
and it
percent,
shows true character. It shows true character too.
100%. No, it's crazy. Everybody in the old days lost fights. It was never the end of the
Mm-hmm.
world. I don't think it is now either. I think guys can lose and come
Mm-hmm.
back without any issue as long as you come back and you show growth. If anything, it's
Right.
more exciting than having a guy who's fight after fight, it's like, okay, yeah, he was able to beat that guy. Yeah, he was able to beat. It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
tough fight. If you lose, you can
Mm-hmm.
learn from it and come back. It'll be more compelling to watch you win the next fight,
Mm-hmm.
coming off of a tough loss. You know, it's
Correct. Correct. Look at all the criticism that Canelo Alvarez is taking right now. And everybody forgets about what a great fighter he still is.
yeah.
Everything that he's been able to accomplish as a fighter and winning different titles in different weight classes.
He did. Yeah.
Pound for pound the best, considered pound for pound the best fighter in the world for a very long time. And then all of a sudden you lose to Crawford, and then now everybody wants to crucify you. But Crawford's Crawford, man. He's an incredible fighter. I mean, he's the two. They two of the best fighters in this era were faced each other, and that they gave people what they wanted. And play, hey, Crawford was a better man, and I tip my head out to Crawford. Crawford's a gentleman, I mean, he behaved like a gentleman before the fight and after the fight, because what happens in the ring stays in the ring. His behavior, he's never said anything negative about Canelo before the fight, during, I mean, you gotta sell the fight, of course.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got that, both fighters are going back and forth, but you gotta sell it, man. You gotta make people tune in and want to pay that pay-per-view. But at the end of the day, once it was all said and done, true gentleman of the sport, and so is Canelo. And then people tend to forget about everything that Canelo has been able to accomplish.
Canelo's carried
And
the torch of
it sucks,
boxing
right?
for a decade. For like a decade, he
Yeah,
fought pretty
very
much
long time.
everybody. I mean, there were some soft
Mhm.
touches, but also everybody has soft touch. You're not going to fight the
Yeah,
very best
everybody.
guy over and over. It's
Mhm.
impossible. There aren't enough guys to do it with.
But like you said, so soft touches, right? But he did what he was supposed to do,
Yeah,
right?
right.
He
Because
did
it's
what he
how
was
you win the
supposed to
fight
do.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, it's I always say that it's not winning, it's how you win, it's how you get it done. Same thing
absolutely.
goes for losing too. It's not
Well,
losing, it's how you lose.
you look
You know?
back at like Joe Louis. Back in his day, he fought. I mean, he beat everybody. Joe
Uh-huh.
Louis was the man, but he beat everybody so much there's nobody left to fight. And then he went on
Right.
his what they called a bum of the month. So he'd just fight a local guy in each
Yeah.
town every month. He'd be fighting. No, nobody complained. Nobody was like, "Man, Joe Louis is taking soft touches." But it's like, how do you think these guys got records into the hundreds?
Of
They're not
course.
fighting. Yeah, they're not fighting the best every time. You got to fight
Especially back
everyone.
in the day, right? A hundred,
Yeah,
hundred.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
have 100 fights, there's no way every fight you're fighting like the guy everyone
No,
wants
no
you to
way.
fight. It's impossible.
No
It's too
way.
many people.
Uh-huh. And then
Um,
think about it. Back in the day, there was only one bout.
I, I'd like to see that happen again. I would love to see. I know that's what they're talking about with like Dana White wants it to be one
Uh-huh.
belt. I
Uh-huh.
don't mind that. I think it would clear a lot of things up and it would force guys to take certain fights. I
Mm-hmm.
don't hate it.
Yeah.
But
No, no, you're right. You're right. I don't, dislike that idea of just having one belt and not having. So I respect all the sanctioning bodies though, because there's too many fighters out there. So that's
yeah,
that's one thing fighter the casual fan needs to understand, or the boxing fans need to understand, is that those belts are necessary because boxing is global.
yeah,
You got one league here in the US, right? Which is one league, which is Major League. You got the MLB, Major League Baseball, go Dodgers.
there you go.
Right? And but it's just here in America, here in the US, that is.
Yeah,
But every country has their own league. Boxing, it's universal. Boxing is the world boxing council, the WBC champion, the WBO, the World Boxing Organization. You're a world champion, one
yeah,
champion for the entire world. You know what I mean? Where you
yeah.
have thousands and thousands of fighters throughout the world, and so you need opportunities for fighters. That's why I love the fact that, speaking of Dana White and his new promotional company, we need more promoters
Yeah,
because fighters get more opportunities. We don't have enough promoters. There's too many fighters and not enough promoters. That's my
it's
opinion.
true. That
It's
is
my
true.
opinion.
I
You
just
know.
think my here's my only gripe with all the belts. Um, my only thing that I don't like is I feel like when there are guys who are legitimately trying to unify it, it's just so hard to do. You have to comply with one.
Promoters.
Yeah, but you have to comply with one belt, and they go, "Well, this is your mandatory," and it's like, "Yeah, but I want to go
Yeah.
fight this guy to get the other belt." It's like
Right.
that's it. We're strict. Like they did that to Canelo. They took
Yeah,
his idea.
yeah, exactly. And he gets a hold of all the belts, and he decides who he wants to fight or not. All of that's well, look, I mean, you're absolutely right, and we got to look at it both ways, right? What's positive, and we got to look at the pros and the cons, the positive and the negative. In
Yeah,
this case, yeah, okay, you're the WBC champion should fight the WBO champion or the IBF or the WBA, right? And then they should unify.
yep,
And then when they unify, like Canelo, he's a unified champion. Okay, who does he fight next? So, and that's when it gets tricky. Because
yeah,
that's why you have the interim champions. Because when
yeah,
you can't fight the immediate champion, well, now you get to fight for the interim world title while you wait to fight the world champion. It just I know it sounds complicated, but I like the system because it gives fighters an opportunity,
yeah,
and then eventually they have to meet, like Canelo and Crawford. They're or Benavides in this case. We never got a chance to see Benavides, but now Benavides is a light heavyweight. Now Benavides has to fight other world champions at light heavyweight. That's a fight that we would have all loved to have seen, but it's the politics, it's the sanctioning bodies, it's the promoters. There's a lot of politics going on now with Dana White.
yeah.
It's one promoter, one league, just like the UFC. So we got to give it a shot, and we got to see how it might work.
I think
Give
so.
it a shot,
I,
right?
I
If
think
it
so.
works, great. Give them an opportunity. Give them the benefit of the doubt.
I,
You know.
I'll say this, and this is the thing where I was just on the last episode I did. I have one that I do with Rudy and with Abel Sanchez, and
Uh-huh.
we were talking about this. Uh, uh, His Excellence, right? Turkey. I don't want to say his last name wrong, so I'm not gonna do it. He's a fan. He's there for every fight.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Only super
Yeah.
fans show up for like the undercard all the way through. He's there the
Uh-huh.
entire time.
The
He's
entire
a
time. Yeah.
fan. If you have a fan who's willing to like make the fights and put the money out,
Uh-huh.
you're gonna get the best fights. Like it's
Well,
just it
that's what we've
has
been seeing with Turkey.
yeah,
He's giving us the best fights.
100%. Like fights that like
Mhm.
normally would be cold wars and you'd be waiting years
Forget
for,
about
all of
it.
a sudden, yeah, they're just getting paired off like 1 year
He
of
gave us he gave us Bivol and Beterbiev. One and
yeah,
two. He gave us Tyson Fury and Usyk. If it wasn't for Turkey, that
two.
fight never happens. It
No
never
chance.
happens. No
No
chance.
chance. Now he has to. The thing
Forget about
is,
it.
the challenge of it, I think, and maybe I'm an anxious guy, so I always think ahead and I go, oh no. But like I think the challenge is it's one of those things that then has to be maintained because if all of a sudden you take
Uh-huh.
that those big opportunities away from fighters, now their expectations of what they can get paid for these big fights will be up
Well,
here.
I'll tell you what. Hey, at the end of the day, bottom line is it's about the money. So really, if I don't care what fighter it is, right? They mention any fighter. Mention Canelo. Mention Canelo Crawford. Okay, you pay him the right money, the right amount of money. Hey, forget the belts. No disrespect. I'm not disrespecting the sanctioning bodies now, but if you pay, hey, I don't care. Crawford went from 147, only had one fight. Listen,
It's
Crawford only
crazy.
had one fight at 154
Then jump two more weight classes.
and jumped two more weight classes to fight Canelo. Hey, you mean to tell me you're gonna pay me $100 million to fight Canelo? I'll move up five weight classes
I'll
and
fight.
forget and
I'll
forget
fight.
the
I'll fight Andy Ruiz tomorrow for a
yeah.
hundred million
Thank you, and
dollars. For a
what
hundred
about
million.
and forget the belts, right?
Yeah, and take care of your family and your grandkids and
Exactly.
your great grandkids. Yeah, of course.
Anyone.
Yeah, yeah. Canelo did him, and this is the weirdest thing about boxing. Canelo did him the biggest favor making that fight because
Well,
now not only did he
Canelo.
make money from that, he can now make more money. I believe I read correctly. He's going to move down to middleweight now, and now a
Uh-huh.
lot more people are going to watch him. He's going to earn a lot more money for that fight than he ever would have if he didn't fight Canelo. So he'll continually
Exactly.
have opportunities. And that's a weird thing with boxing is if a guy decides he wants to kick your ass, he's doing you the biggest favor he could, right? Like if
Mm-hmm.
he decides like I don't
Mm-hmm.
like you, we're gonna. It's not that he doesn't like you, but to an
Mm-hmm.
outsider seeing it, it's like, oh, these two guys are fighting. They don't like each other. It's like, no, this
Mm-hmm.
guy just made this guy's life. He's changed his whole
Mm-hmm.
entire life by fighting him. Like it's the weirdest dynamic to boxing, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot to talk about, right? When it comes to, sanctioning bodies, and now with Dana White and obviously Turkey, because they're doing this together, and it's interesting to see how all of this is gonna play out. But let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. They haven't even gotten started yet, let's just see how this all plays out. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, hey, at least they tried. But it's beneficial for the fight, for the fighters, for the sport, you know. And like I said, we need especially someone like Turkey and Lakish with that kind of money, right? I mean, he's got a lot of money, and
Yeah,
he can make anything happen. He still is. I think what would the Benavides fight's gonna be in the Saudi Arabia, right?
yep.
And look at the undercard, great undercard, and any
Stacked,
of those guys could be in a main event, and,
stacked.
and it's stacked. And then in December, he's having Inoue and Nakatani on the same card, a bunch of Japanese, Japanese fighters on the same card, Japanese card. But these are all lions, man. These are all very, very good fighters. And then obviously with Nakatani and Inoue fighting in December, and they both win, then they'll fight in the summer again. Who's making that happen?
I think there's a lot of foresight in putting them on
Yeah,
the same card. Like that's smart. That's simple. It's smart.
yeah,
That's what a lot of promoters probably should have been doing is where you have, and a lot of them do. I think obviously the Caleb Plant, and it's supposed to be Caleb Plant and Charlo. Obviously, it was upset, right?
right.
But,
Well,
but that,
Toro, we ruined that party.
yeah, that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
Toro Resendiz ruined that because we beat Caleb Plan, and Caleb Toro was supposed to be a tuna fight for
it,
Caleb, and then fight. So anyway, sorry to sorry
yeah,
sorry to
you ruined it, man. You ruined the whole
sorry to
story.
ruin that. But
No,
yeah, but that
that was
doesn't mean
awesome.
they. But listen, that doesn't mean there's a good possibility that they may fight, and the people are still gonna be interested in watching that fight despite the Caleb Plant loss. Why not? I would.
Yeah,
It's still a good fight.
maybe, maybe.
I believe it's
I
still a
don't
good
know.
fight. What do you think?
Yeah, no, not real. I mean, I think Caleb Plant, he's got to show that he's still got. Oh, you guys beat him clean. Oh, you beat him clean. Like it wasn't like it was a. It didn't feel like an upset. It felt like a straight up like the right guy won the fight. So no, I think if you're gonna do it that way and you put them both on the same card, they both have to win and they have to
Mm,
showcase. And like if
okay.
Nakatani lost, do you think that Inoue fight's gonna be that exciting?
No, because Nakatani doesn't have. Nakatani's a great fighter, pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world, definitely. But not. But I'll tell you what. What if Inoue lost? Because
Gosh, so
really,
that
right? I mean, I'd still if he lost and then came back and fought Nakatani, I believe it'd still be a good fight. What's gonna carry that fight is Inoue. No disrespect to Nakatani, but he's not. But that's the fight he needs to become the best big
100%.
thing in boxing. He
I
needs
think
to
in
be the one.
Japan, that fight's probably
Forget it.
extremely exciting. Now, here, maybe not as much, but I think there people would respect those two fighting and want to see that. I would assume.
Right?
I mean, I haven't been to Japan, right?
It'll
But
be
I'd have to
great.
imagine it's
I'm gonna
very
start
exciting.
saving. If they do fight, I'm gonna start saving money for my flight, because I'm going to that fight. There's no way in the world I'm gonna miss Nakatani and Inoue. And I got
What
Nakatani winning too, by the way.
they make you pay to go out there? I thought that they just would invite you,
Well,
get a
if I
seat,
if
and
I no no, I don't got it like that.
no
I
what?
wish.
Oh man,
I
um,
wish.
I want to ask
Unless I
one more
have a
thing.
fighter fighting on the card, of course.
You gotta make that happen. Then you gotta backdoor
Yeah,
it somehow.
hopefully. I'll speak to Rudy.
Yeah, yeah. No,
One of my boxers is actually helping Nakatani right now at the gym. That also fought Inoue, Ramon Cardenas fought Inoue. Remember a couple fights ago he dropped Inoue,
that's
but
right. Yeah, yeah.
Inoue came back and beat him. I'm actually working with them now. This is our first camp together, and so I have him coming to sparring with Nakatani at the moment right now, helping him get ready for his next fight. So great sparring. That's the kind of relationship Rudy and I have. It's,
How
we
much?
help each other out.
How much does it help to? Obviously, he's going to be a very good sparring partner, but like, how much does it help to
Hmm.
give foresight and perspective on like what it's like to fight
Wow,
anyway?
wow. I mean, it's great. It works both ways. I mean, it's good. I don't know about Rudy. Rudy would have to answer that question, and see how much it helps Nakatani. But as far as we're concerned on our end, we're definitely happy. I mean, iron sharpens iron, and when you're able to spar someone like Nakatani, you believe it's only going to make you better. It has to.
What do you notice is the toughest thing about him, or the most challenging thing just it's sparring, but like in sparring a guy like a Nakatani?
He's got very high ring IQ, very high ring IQ. He knows how to control the center of the ring very well. He knows where he's at, and every moment he he's just like he's a killer, man. He's a sniper. He knows when to commit, how to use his distance, how to break you down, pick you apart, pick the right time to release his combinations and come with the right approach, the
Yeah.
right punches. May come in with the jab, may come in with the right uppercut because he's a southpaw. He knows how to. He's a complete fighter. He's a complete fighter, and what happens with Nakatani, he'll systematically break you down for the first 3 or 4 rounds, maybe, and then move in for the kill and try to finish you. If he can knock you out, he'll knock you out early, the distance, or if he'll knock you out in the later rounds. But he's very smart. He's very sharp. I've been watching him since he was a teenager, because Rudy's been working with him since he was a kid, and he used to bring him from Japan to America, and that's how we build. Really, that's how we build Nakatani from
That's
from
amazing.
from a very early age.
What I notice watching him is you can't pin him down. You can't get in a rhythm with a guy like that because
No,
he's always changing the style. He's
that's what
changing
I'm
it.
saying.
He'll start holding with you, and you'll be like, "Okay, we're gonna slow down now," and
He's
then he'll throw you. It's like
mhm.
he's
He's
constantly
always
messing
one,
with
one
it.
step ahead. Once he's always
Yeah,
one step ahead. You
it's
know.
all a trick. Everything he
Mm-hmm.
does is like a trick.
Mm-hmm.
He'll start throwing hard punches when you're not expecting it, but
Mm-hmm.
then he's very patient. When he has a guy hurt, all of a sudden it's like
Right.
he's just gonna wait. He's gonna look for that shot. Like you just can't you can't get into a rhythm with a guy like that.
Hard to
It's
figure him out. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough.
So it's great when you're able to spar someone like that and feed off of them and learn from definitely one of the best fighters in the world, pound for pound.
I don't One thing I was thinking about earlier, and it's still been in my head, and I was really curious about. So sorry, I got a dry throat.
Mm-hmm.
With when you were unfortunately your dad had passed, and at that
Mm-hmm.
time you were his second. You always worked behind him and followed his lead. What was the dynamic for you personally to step in on your own? Was there a challenge to say, okay, no, I'm the guy doing this? Was that what made it hard to like fulfill that?
Uh, yes. I mean, when my dad passed away, I obviously I lost my father. So, and I lost my best friend, my mentor, my teacher. So it was just like starting all over again. But I took with me everything that I learned from my dad, the good and bad. Nobody's perfect, and you learn from people's mistakes sometimes, and not just and you make sure you don't make the same mistakes. And then obviously his attributes as a trainer and everything that he showed me in and outside the ring, you take that with you once you these are things you can't forget. So that was my foundation. That's what really got me started. And I just took and then obviously learning from people like Rudy Hernandez. Learning from people like Abel Sanchez, Rudy Hernandez. I consider them my friends. People I know and I talk to, I speak to. Um, the great Nacho Beristain, I had an opportunity to work with him as well. Hall of Famers. Amilcar Burusa from Argentina that I learned a great deal from. Another veteran trainer that passed away, but I learned a lot from him. And I learned Chuck Bodak, another Hall of Famer, Chuck Bodak, that I learned a great deal from. And just different people, different you know teachers. I call them
Yeah.
teachers. You know, and they I was able to learn a great deal from them, and to this day continue to still learn on a daily basis. And uh, Rudy's a great friend of mine, so I always reach out to him for advice. And sometimes he ends up working a corner with me as a cut man, and he's always great to have in a corner because I'll ask for an opinion and he'll give it to me. He'll let me know what he thinks about
Yeah.
the fight and how it's going and what we should do, or he'll give me advice. And it always works, and I always embrace that, and I thank him for it. And it's just staying humble, staying grounded, and just going to work every day, and just watching video, of course, and watching footage on past fights and my fighters, opponents, and so forth and so on. And always eager to learn new things and get better.
Right
And
on.
yeah, so that's basically it. And you don't stop learning in this game. You never do. You really don't. Every day, there's always something new to learn.
I want to say, man, and I'm not trying to get cheesy here. I'm not going to get emotional, but
Mhm.
I think it's like a beautiful thing, and I think it's incredible how you took your dad's legacy and continued it. And
Mhm.
even not just the things you learned, but learning from, like you said, his mistakes allowed you to continue to
Yeah.
grow what he was doing and build upon it and make something more out of it. And I think and even more so the fact that now you're implementing it, with your son. I think
Mhm.
I just think that's incredible. And I think you did a really great job honoring your
Appreciate
father and carrying through because I can't even imagine, man, how hard that must have been. And
it. Mhm.
I think it's amazing. I think it would have been a
Mhm.
really easy time for a lot of other people to quit, or when you go
Mhm.
down, you stay down, and you didn't do that. You kept going, and the
Mhm.
legacy that you've built and that you're continuing to build, and maybe one day if your son's training, I mean, that would be so cool to see
Mhm.
it go threefold and see it continue to
Wow.
build on
Yeah.
that. But
No, he's one of my coaches. He's already in the gym, working with me, training, and he's got, he obviously he works with he works with me in the pros, but he's also working with the amateurs. He has his own uh, running his own amateur program, taking the kids to the tournaments and so forth, nationals and whatnot. So he's building his own stable of fighters. I go, you got to do it on your own. You got to be able, but I'm gonna be there for you. Anything you need, I'll be there for you. But you have to put in the work yourself. Nothing's gonna be handed to you. You gotta put in the work. You gotta build it on your own. You gotta build your name. And let people know who you are. But
absolutely.
you just walk a straight line, integrity and be a man of your word and just do what's right. Do what's right, and that's gonna take you a long way.
I'll ask you one more, and then I'll let you go, man, because I know now it's starting to get late by you too, right? So, um, the one thing that you've said, and this is like such a common theme between you and all the guys that you named, it's bigger than boxing. You said it when you were talking about going to the hospital with Boacek. It's bigger than boxing. It clearly is down to who you are as a person and how you carry yourself and doing the right thing. Not everybody does. I'm not saying this about other
Mhm.
trainers, but just in the world in general, there are people who cut people down all the time. They cut corners. They use each other. It can be ugly. How much do you think it helped your success by always doing the right thing?
Ah, well, when you do the right thing, you're able to sleep at night. You're able to sleep good at night and not have to, you know, wake up in the middle of the night, thinking about what you did wrong. You know, um, yeah, I just being a good human being, just being a good person, common sense, having common sense, learning to be tolerant and respect people and accept people for who they are and just learn to get along with everyone. That's so beautiful about boxing. My boxing gym, particularly my boxing gym, my house. When you come, because it's my home away from home, right? So when you step into my gym, you see people from all over the world. You'll see fighters that come in from every corner of the world. South America, Central America, Europe, Africa, Asia, you name it. They come to California for training, and not just in my gym, but all over the area, all over Southern California. When you know, uh, when you have that, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's just a beautiful thing. That you speak boxing. You may not speak the same language, but you speak boxing, and I think it's awesome. I think it's fantastic. I think I work with a young fighter. She's a world champion. Her name is Misuki Iruta. She's a WBO 115 WBO champ, and she's also the ring champion. She was handed the ring belt recently, so she's considered the best fighter in the world in her weight class, particular weight class 115. And she's Japanese. She
Yeah.
speaks very little. Her English has gotten a lot better now. Very little English or Spanish, and and it's just great, man. It's just great to have her in the gym and to give you an example of how she comes from a different part of the world, different culture, and she loves it. I mean, she loves being here because she we have fighters from again different nationalities and whatnot, different parts of the world, and she sees how she's treated with the utmost respect and especially for women. It's so much harder for women to be accepted in this sport, and it's just it's a beautiful. It's hard to explain, but it's such a beautiful thing how you leave your home, you leave your home country, your family, everything that you have back home, and you make a sacrifice to come to what I consider the boxing capital of the world, which is Southern California. You make that sacrifice to come and look for the American dream, you know, to find that success because you're not gonna have the same level of that's one thing people need to understand, and I'm sure a lot of people do is you're not gonna have the same amount of success in Japan that you would here in the United States. Nobody's gonna know who you are. People may know who you are in Japan, but not worldwide, right?
Yeah.
Just like Canelo, just like Manny Pacquiao. What would Manny Pacquiao be? Where would he be, right? If he wasn't here in America. If and people love Manny, you know? People love Manny,
Adored.
everybody loves Manny. He's an
Adored.
incredible fighter,
Yeah.
an incredible human being, incredible person, an incredible fighter. And where would he be? So that's what I'm trying to get at
Yeah.
is to give yourself an opportunity and but the most important thing is to walk into the right place,
Yeah.
right? I feel like a lot of these fighters are walking into the right place. Give them an opportunity because I know where I come from. I know how hard it was for me. I know how hard it was for my family. So when these fighters come from other parts of the world, it's my duty and it's my obligation to make sure that they're comfortable, they're in a good place, they're treated with respect, and when they go home, you know how important it is for me, for people, for fighters that come here from any part of the world, and then when they go back home, how important it is for me to say good things about the experience that they had here in the city in this country. I think it should be a priority to all of us that people see us because we're all the same, you know, and people see us with respect, and people have good things to say about us, and people can say, man, what a great experience I had back at Manny's gym here in LA, and and I had great sparring, and but the more, forget about the sparring and forget about the work, the respect,
Yeah.
I got treated like family, treated with the utmost respect, men or women, and I want to come back. I want to be able to come back. I want to be able to experience that again. To me, that's priority. To me, that's the most important thing.
I honestly think someone said this before, and it's so true. If the world could, yeah, not even the world, if our country,
Mm.
America, could interact with each other the way that people do in a boxing gym, the world would be a much
Oh
better
man,
place. We would
you can believe that.
look past the minor differences and accept each other for
Yeah.
the character of each other. It would
Mm-hmm.
change everything. It really would. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, but
Yeah, it's great. It's a beautiful thing when you have people from different parts of the world, and we're all interacting in one place. It's crazy.
for one
It's crazy.
drink,
You would have to be there to see what I'm talking about and experience that. Man, everybody gets along so great. Well, why not? Why not? To me, that's very important.
yeah, Coach, thank you so much.
Welcome.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. This meant everything to me. Your story is incredible, and I'm just grateful I had the
Hmm.
chance to hear it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Stay blessed, brother. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.